probably the most common question we get here at Motorcycle.com is, what's the best motorcycle? But we're not going to talk about that today. Today, we're going to talk about the second or third most common question we get, and that's, what is the best helmet? Well, the short answer to that is, it depends. There's a lot of variables to that, and we've put aside that question for the longest time because of the variables involved with that question. But today, we think it's time to tackle the question of, what do different helmets do or provide, or how do they fit and how do they work? And for that, we contacted all of the helmet manufacturers that sell helmets in the US and asked them to provide us with their top of the line racing helmets, because even if you don't race a motorcycle, just like anything else in racing, the technologies and the developments that happen in racing, including what happens in racing helmets, come down and trickle down to all the other helmets in that particular brand's lineup. So here we have 11 helmets from, let's see, AGV, LS2, KYT, Shoei, 6D, Forcite, Scorpion, Shark, Bell, Arai, and X-Lite. And we, and then I, put them on my head. We rode them, or I rode them around on racetracks, because these are race-oriented helmets. And wearing them back to back to back really enlightens someone as to what they do or don't do or how they perform. And so, for the first time in Mo's history, we're putting together a helmet shootout to go along with all of our bike shootouts we normally do. So, I'm gonna go through all 11 of these helmets, tell you what they are, how they perform, some of the features they have, and though there's not gonna be a winner, because that really depends on what you're looking for in your head shape, by learning what each provides, you'll have a better idea what to look for when you're helmet shopping later on. So here are some points of reference for you. Me personally, my head is an intermediate oval shape. The other shapes out there typically are long oval, intermediate oval, and round. So depending on your head, this may or may not even pertain to you, because if you have a round head or a long oval head, my impressions of how these all fit are going to be completely different for you. But keep that in mind as you watch this video. You might also notice there are potentially 2 helmet companies missing from the table, HJC and Suomi. I contacted both of them. HJC couldn't provide a helmet in time. Suomi never got back to me, so we couldn't do anything with that. So we don't have HJC, we don't have Suomi. Otherwise, we've got 11 really interesting and impressive helmets here. So all these helmets definitely meet the DOT regulations. Some will meet Snell, some will meet ECE, some will even be FIM homologated. I'll get more into those as we talk about a specific helmet. What I'm not going to get into is the controversy between, is Snell better, is ECE better? You can do your own research as to which standard works best for you. This is more how they work when it's actually on your head and you're twisting the grips like this. So let's get into all of these in alphabetical order. We start things off with the most expensive helmet on this list, the AGV Pista GP RR. It's the same helmet Valentino Rossi wears, because it's also the same helmet Valentino Rossi can afford. The Pista GP RR starts at $1,400. Let that sink in. Starts at $1,400, can go up to over $1,700. That's a lot of coin for a helmet, but it's also rich in features that I'm going to explain to you now. This is designed for one thing and one thing only. It's to be worn on a racetrack going full tilt boogie. There's another version of this called the Pista GP that is more street oriented. So what are the differences between it? Well, let's just get into what the GPRR is. By being a race-focused helmet, it's designed to be in this position when you're fully tucked. So this big wide eye port gives you 85 degrees up and down viewing angle out the eye port. The vents, there's no covers. Usually on a helmet you'll see there's little tabs you can flip up and down for these vents. Doesn't have that here. It's wide open. If you do want to cover them, AGV provides little rubber strips you can insert to cover that. It's a very aerodynamic shape. You'll see on the back, there's these little spoilers, and there's the main spoiler back here. You have a drink tube, and then to make things super convenient for you, depending on different head shapes, here's all the stuff they provide in the box. First, a bag full of different pads that can go all around your head to really tailor the fit to your head. Next is some tear-offs to go around the screen, because it is a racing helmet after all. Then you've got the pin lock visor to help with not having fog in your face. And then a whole plastic bag full of, let's see, the bite tube for your drinks. There's earplugs, an owner's manual, a bunch of tools and whatnot for that. So, more things about the AGV. It weighs in at 3 pounds, 7.2 ounces. For those who are more inclined to use the metric system, that's 1,565 grams. This is both DOT approved and ECE 2205 approved as well. This is also FIM homologated. And you can see from just looking at it, it's completely carbon fiber construction. Now I have a confession to make. This is the only one of these 11 helmets that I have not personally worn on my head for this test. However, I have worn the Pista, and what I can tell you about that is once it gets on your head, it is an extremely comfortable fit, at least as far as my head shape goes. I personally like my helmets to fit really tight along the cheeks, but not too tight, and then obviously not crush my skull. So it's a weird combination to get that really tight cheek pinch and a comfortable skull. With the amount of pads this thing has, you're able to contour this thing exactly how you see fit. The Pista doesn't have as long of a spoiler, but even with that, it was a really stable helmet on my head. The viewport is amazing. Viewing angle, lightness, how it slices through the air, the AGV was an absolute hit. Really good helmet, and obviously, like I said again, if it's good enough for Rossi, it's good enough for me. So here is a helmet that needs no introduction, the Arai Corsair-X. There I introduced it anyway. Really popular and famous helmet. This particular one is in the Nikki Reset graphic because, well, look how cool it is. And Nikki Hayden, what more needs to be said? This one is in a size medium to fit my head. I like to have the pads really close and really tight, so I actually had to order thicker pads for this one to fit my cheeks. I also did that because Arai's especially, I noticed right out of the box, when I put the standard pads on and put it over my head, it feels great. And after, I don't know, half a day of riding with the Arai, the pads will break in and suddenly the helmet will feel really loose on my head. So I ordered thicker padding, which anybody can do. Thicker padding for this guy so that at the very first fit, it's super snug, and then after about half a day, they break in just perfect for my head. Arai is known for their different head shapes and shell sizes, and the Corsair-X is an intermediate oval. Arai's famous helmet shape, they call it the R75. It's this round profile. They refer to that profile as giving the rider in a crash the ability to glance off and not just smack into whatever obstacle might be in their way. So my impressions after riding with the Corsair-X. It's a loud helmet, and everyone's talked about that. I've heard that before. And that's the trade-off you get when you have just such massive ventilation channels. You got 3 up here on the head, you've got the 2 on the eyebrow, a really big chin vent here, and then just massive exhaust vents out the back and out the sides here. When you have that much air flowing into the helmet, you're just naturally gonna get a loud helmet. That never really bothered me in the past, especially because I wear earplugs, but once you wear helmet after helmet after helmet, back to back to back, the difference in the sound really came through to me, and that's when I noticed the Arai is like crazy loud, even with earplugs in. You know, like with anything else in life, you get used to it if this is your only helmet. But something to be aware of. Others complain about Arai's complicated shield changing mechanism. Personally, once you do it twice, you kind of figure it out, and it's really not that bad, in my opinion. But otherwise, The interior lining, I mean, it's really plush. And once it breaks in, it just feels like second skin against your face. It's really nice, really plush, really comfortable, machine washable too. What's there to be said about an Arai helmet that hasn't been said already? It's just really top quality, top notch stuff. This one weighs in at 3 pounds, 8.3 ounces, or if you're a fan of the metric system, that's 1,596 grams. Also, if you are the one that cares about aerodynamics, Arai can also sell you this little nifty dandy little spoiler that goes up in here to give you a little bit better aero through the air. Me personally, I've worn this helmet with and without this little guy. I'd be lying to you if I said I could feel an appreciable difference in how my head sliced through the air. Maybe if I was going 200 miles an hour, this would have some sort of effect on my head. But as it were, I've never gone that fast, so I don't actually know. So there you go. So getting back into the noise issue of the Arai, I have tried it with the vents closed as well. Yes, it does make a difference. Not a large, appreciable difference. It's still a loud helmet. Personally, especially on a hot day, I'd rather have a ton of air flowing through to cool my head, and I can deal with that little bit of noise. It's really not too bad. It's just relative to the others, it is a very loud helmet. So that is the Arai Corsair-X. Up next, we have the Bell Race Star Flex. This is Bell's premium top-of-the-line race helmet. As you can see, it's got this huge eye port with this shape that's designed to be in the tuck position. It's the very similar helmet to the one Cameron Beaubier wears, a bunch of the Moto America guys, MotoGP guys, same deal. As Bell's top-of-the-line flagship helmet, it also features the Flex liner, which you might have noticed from the Flex in its name. That is Bell's proprietary multi-density impact liner to handle low speed, medium speed, and high speed impacts. And how it does that is, depending on the severity of the impact, as the first impact liner crushes, it'll engage the second one and the third one, low, medium, and high, depending on, again, how severe the crash is. It's their way of mitigating impact stress to your head, basically. Luckily for me, I haven't had to test how that works, and I don't plan to anytime soon. But for the purposes of what we're doing here for the shootout, the helmet you see in front of you here, this is a medium, and I swapped out the cheek pads that are standard 30 mil cheek pads for 45 mil cheek pads, which again, anybody can do. Call up Bell, order up some cheek pads. So what that does for me is it gives me a really, really great fit, again, to really pinch in my cheeks, comfortable crown placement. Fun fact, I weighed this helmet both with the standard and the 45 mil cheek pads. It weighs in at 3 pounds, 7 ounces. With the standard 30 mil cheek pads, that's 1,560 grams. And with the thicker 45 mil cheek pads, it weighs 3 pounds, 7.4 ounces, or 1,570 grams. Little tidbit for you there. Me personally, I race with this helmet. I really dig it. It's comfortable. It slices through the air really well. This eye port is huge. You can see really great through it. Standard Race Star Flex helmets sold in the US come with the Panavision shield with the photochromatic shield that automatically changes its tint depending on the amount of light available. This is not that shield. This is just a plain old dark shield. The other cool thing about this helmet is the cheek pads are magnetic. They just pull in or pull out, and you just plop it in place. No buttons to snap into place. It's just super convenient. Magnets, plop in, plop out, you're done. Simple lever here to open or close the shield, and then a single button on both sides to move the shield in or out. Makes it super easy and convenient to use, which is all those reasons and more are why this is my personal race helmet. I just find it really comfortable and flows through the air really well. The ventilation isn't on par with an Arai, I'll be the first to admit. However, the other features of this helmet make it a really great little race helmet for me to wear. I dig it a lot, and yeah, it's hard to really fault this thing. It's pretty darn cool. Next up is a helmet you may or may not have heard of. This one's called the Forcite MK1. If you have heard of this helmet, probably because you live in Australia. This is an Australian company branching out into the world of smart helmets. Doesn't look so smart, right? Looks like your run-of-the-mill carbon fiber helmet. It is ECE 2205 approved. What makes the Forcite MK1 pretty cool is right there is a camera. And it films in 1080p. There's higher definitions out there, but this is still pretty good. I've done some videos with this helmet on, some track videos, and it's pretty rad to have that sort of perspective right there incorporated into the helmet, and it's pretty light. So right there is a camera. There's a microphone inside. So what are you gonna work on? Slow down, body position. And earbuds all integrated into this helmet. So you can record video, you can get directions. There's an app on your phone, the Forcite app. It can tell you where to go. You can activate the camera. You can speak into it. It's a great moto vlogging helmet if that's your thing. Well, that's the cool thing I like about the MK1. The not so great thing is being a new company, being a new helmet, there are definitely some teething issues, let's say, with the MK1. First off, it has an internal visor. However, I'm trying to open it and it's getting stuck and it's not coming down. It's really annoying to try and operate. The good news is Forcite is aware of this, and in fact, the next generation of this helmet, they tell me, is gonna do away with the drop-down sun visor. So this isn't even gonna be an issue for very long. Other things, just the fit and finish isn't as great as pretty much any other helmet you see on the table here. The interior liner is kind of collapsing a little bit. Not to a point where I don't think it's safe, but it just doesn't seem as upkept, I guess. As the quality control could be a little bit better with this guy. Again, not to a point where I feel unsafe wearing it. And again, the features of having the camera and the microphone and the ear pods, it's pretty cool. So I have reason to believe Forcite is gonna get their act together. Like I said, they've already told me generation 2 of this is gonna do away with the drop-down visor, and it's gonna be more user-friendly as far as the fit goes, as far as the app goes, as far as pretty much everything. So this is MK1, MK2, and who knows what else is gonna come afterwards. It's just gonna build upon this. But I thought it was worth mentioning here in this video because of just the fact it's a cool and different helmet. Bulked by the fact Forcite's even sponsoring some racers in the Australian super sport or super bike category. So I mean, it's a small company putting helmets on racers' heads, and I'd have to imagine a racer would value their head safety, and to wear a helmet and to endorse a helmet like that is a pretty big deal. So still a little bit off from the rest, but cool features nonetheless. And if you're curious about it, look at Forcite MK1. So a cream will take care of that itch, okay. Oh shit. Anywho, all right. Next on the chopping block, we've got another newer player on the American scene anyway, KYT. This is the KYT NZ or NZ, depending where you are in the world, Race. Same helmet a lot of MotoGP riders wear, Aleix Espargaro being one of them. This helmet is a small with medium pads thrown in. So I've gone the other way, a smaller overall shell, but with a little bit thinner pad just because of the way this particular helmet fits my head. The cool thing about the NZ Race, it is super light. 3 pounds, 1.1 ounces, or for the metric folks out there, 1,392 grams. The other cool thing about this helmet, it's also FIM homologated. So you've got a top tier quality helmet. Also has a close space in my heart because the headquarters for KYT is in Indonesia, my ancestral home. So that's cool. More cool features. I like dark visors. This is a very dark visor. All these helmets have really easy to change shields. So pop it in, pop it out, no big deal. Other than the FIM homologation, it's also ECE 2205 rated. So those are the cool things about the KYT NZ Race. Where it falls short though is just, this particular one doesn't fit my head. I think I need to play around some more with the different sizing options. Out of all the helmets here, they're all spanning the small to medium size range with possibly different padding. Some of them are completely stock. This KYT is a small with different padding, and it gives me a giant hotspot right in my forehead. I need to play around with a different size some more and get the interior just the way I want it, because despite this particular one being the wrong size for my head, what I love about it is, like I said, the lightness. When I put it on my head, it basically disappears. It is super duper light, and that's obviously a great thing when you're on the racetrack. Aerodynamics wise, you can see its profile and this spoiler in the back. It's a pretty aerodynamic shape. It flows through the air just fine. I really had no issues with how it sliced through the air. The vision is also fine, but again, I tend to wear my helmet so that the brow, this portion right here, sits a little bit above my eyebrow. So when I'm in that tucked position, I've got plenty of vision out the eye port. Interior wise, plush, comfortable lining. Nothing particularly special or fancy or above and beyond anything else you see here. The other thing about it though is it's loud, which indicates to me it's flowing a lot of air, or a lot of air is coming up through the neck roll of the helmet. This didn't seem particularly loose or anything like that, which leads me to believe these vents are more than just show. There's a lot of air coming in through these vents, through these eyebrow and the top of the head vents, and of course you have the chin vents as well. I really want to like this helmet, and I think I personally need to experiment some more with the sizing options because it didn't quite fit me right. It's got that ancestral connection to me as well, and I want to love this thing because it's my people who made this, and it looks sharp. I dig it a lot. However, the hot spot on my head was a pretty big deal breaker for me. But because of how light it is, I'm not done with this helmet. I want to find other ways or other sizes and see if I can really dial in and make this the helmet for me. All right, this is the helmet I think that has the coolest name of the entire bunch. The LS2 Thunder Carbon. Dun dun dun. Pretty cool, right? Look at this. Carbon, carbon, carbon. Pretty cool looking helmet, right? And with a name like Thunder, you expect something fierce, and I think this delivers. With the carbon, I mean, look at that. You've just got this pretty menacing silhouette going on with a cool little spoiler back here. Really big, wide eye port. Some of you may not have heard about LS2, some of you know about it, especially if you're familiar with a lot of the helmets they wear in Europe. LS2 is I believe a Spanish company, but don't quote me on that. Big helmet in Europe, just breaking through in the US market. We got two of these helmets. One was a small, one was a medium. Again, for weight comparison, the small weighed in at 3 pounds, 3.3 ounces. That's 1454 grams. The medium comes in at 3 pounds, 4.2 ounces, 1479 grams. So small, obviously, but not too small of a difference as far as the weight goes. DOT approved, of course, ECE 2205, and the LS2 Thunder is also FIM homologated. One of the few here in this bunch that does have the FIM homologation. So things I like about the LS2 Thunder Carbon. Well, it feels light on my head. I dig it a lot. It feels comfortable, it feels light. The aero is great. The shape of it gives me a lot of vision out the front. This spoiler really does well as far as slicing through the air and giving my head a nice stable feeling when tucked in, going at high speed. The thing that was kind of weird about it though, kind of like the Arai, fits great brand new, put it on your head, super comfortable. About, I don't know, 2-3 sessions into a day, The cheek pads will wear in, break in. Doesn't take very long. 3 sessions, I think, was all it took for the cheek pads to kind of break in a little bit, and suddenly I could feel it a little loose on my head. Something to consider. I didn't think about that when I first put it on, because when I first put it on, it felt great. The other thing about the Thunder is the shield change mechanism is a little bit finicky. You've got these tabs that you need to press downwards. It's on both sides, and then angle the shield just the right way, and then it slides out and slides back in, and these lock back into place. I suppose if you do it more often, it becomes more like second nature, but not the most intuitive system in the world. That being said, once it's in place, it's solid as a rock and doesn't feel like it's gonna go anywhere. Like I said, good eye port, and the ventilation is pretty good. I first wore this on a chilly morning, so I had the vents closed, and I didn't have a chance to really soak in all the air because I didn't want to get cold. So that one has something to do with the ventilation. I'll have to wear it some more to see how well it vents with the vents open. So with the vents closed, obviously the sound wasn't too bad either. That might change with everything open, but in the conditions we had to test this in, cold afternoon, cold morning, vents closed, it was fine. Well, that's it in a nutshell. The LS2 Thunder Carbon, really good helmet, really light, slices through the air really well, big eye port, kind of a finicky shield change mechanism, but all in all, really good. Just be aware of the break-in of the cheek pads. If this is something you're considering, you might want to account for that. Helmet buyers on a budget will recognize the Scorpion name, and Scorpion has come out with a new flagship helmet, the EXO or EXO R1, the same helmet Fabio Quartararo wears on his head. This, in my opinion, is a really cool helmet. This guy right here is a size medium, weighs in at 3 pounds, 1.7 ounces. Pretty light. You can see all the carbon fiber cladding all over it. For the metric folks, that's 1409 grams. Has a DOT and an EC 2205 rating. The thing about the Scorpion EXO R1, yes, it is light on your head. Yes, the eye port is really wide and big, and Scorpion even includes, well, this dark one, and it comes with the clear one as well. So you buy one helmet, you get 2 shields. Pretty cool. Venting is fine. Aero is fine. Doesn't really stand out from the pack too much, except for one key thing. It's got, can't see it from this angle, but it's got inflatable cheek pads. That may not sound like a big deal, but all this talk I've been saying before about how the cheek pads will break in eventually and you don't realize it until you're halfway down the front straightaway and the helmet's doing this whole thing. Having the ability to pump up your cheek pads to customize that fit so it squeezes your cheeks just the way you want it all the time is a game changer that I'm surprised others don't do. So inflatable cheek pads might sound like a gimmick, but it really isn't. When you want a really good fitting, great fitting helmet at speed, not just standing still in a warehouse like this, having the ability to pump up those cheek pads to make it hit your cheeks just like so it has a good fit down the straightaway, is a pretty important feature to have, and this is the only one of the whole bunch that has it. Yeah, kudos to Scorpion for thinking about that. It's a thing they've been doing for years, this whole inflatable cheek pad thing. Why no one else has caught on to it, I don't know, but yeah. To me, that makes the Scorpion a game changer as far as a premium helmet with a great value benefit to it. The solid colors come in at $400, go all the way up to $550 for a special graphic or the carbon one like this. Relatively affordable, super cool feature with the inflatable cheek pads, and it works. It's light, it works, it goes through the air. Scorpion's come a long way. I've had a love-hate relationship personally with Scorpion. Right now, I love the EXO R1. We come now to the Shark Race R Pro. At one of the more expensive models in this entire shootout, starting at $1,000. It's a pricey piece of kit, but I think it's worth it. In return, you get one extremely badass helmet. Just like the Scorpion, I've had a love-hate relationship with Shark helmets as well. Some of their previous helmets have not fit my head very great. The Race R Pro fits my head fantastic. And you can see this big fin in the back. Might seem gimmicky, but it works. In a full tuck, on all the naked bikes we tested recently, the big CC naked bikes, this felt stable and solid as a rock at 150 miles an hour on a naked bike down the front straightaway at Thunder Hill. It's very impressive what Shark has done here, but again, for $1,000, you kind of expect premium, high quality equipment, and the Race R Pro delivers. Part of what makes this helmet so cool, other than the fact its aerodynamics are stellar, is the fit is just the way I like it for a race helmet. Super snug, super tight, super comfy, but not in a bad way, not uncomfortably so. And part of that comes from this neck roll. There's this little piece you see right here. This actually slides off. It's included in the box. I had it in here for the purposes of our test. But everything else about this neck roll is the way this helmet comes. And it's incredibly tight putting the helmet on over your head. Some people, a lot of people will get put off when a helmet is really hard to put over your head. That means the neck roll is blocking air from coming underneath and making things loud, possibly getting air up into your eyes. Once this thing is down, plopped onto your head the right way, this feels amazing. At least for my head it does. Your head shapes may differ and it may be a different deal for you, but for me, once I got through putting the helmet on over my head, it was amazing. This is a really cool little helmet. Again, for that price though, you probably expect as much. And then once you're wearing it, once you're riding the bike and going as fast as you possibly can, your head just feels stable as a rock. The ventilation, again, it was a chilly day. I left most of the vents closed because I didn't want to get cold. So I can't comment too much on that. Other than the fit and the really good aero, the last talking point about this though is this face shield. The mechanism to get it on and off, you've got these tabs here you slide back and forth. One is a lock position, one is the unlock position. Slide them both to the unlock, slide the visor out, put the new one in, slide it in place into the lock position again, and you're basically done. The shields themselves are like 3 mil thick. They're thick visors, thicker than anything else out here. And then when they say it's a dark shield, dark smoke shield, they mean it. My eyes had to adjust just how dark this shield is. I would look at the ambient light, think, okay, good. And with most other helmets on the market, I can flip the dark face shield down and go ride immediately. This, pop it down and my vision took moments to adjust and be like, holy crap, it's really dark now. And it's quite a sight to behold how dark this is. So if you do opt this route and you're gonna put in the dark visor, make sure you've got a really bright and sunny day in front of you, because otherwise you're gonna be trying to like figure out where to go. It's so freaking dark in this thing. That's the Shark Race R Pro GP in a nutshell. Awesome aero, really amazing fit. It is pricey, starting at $1,000, but this is one of those times where you do get what you pay for. The Shoei X-Fourteen is a helmet that needs no introduction. Shoei's top-of-the-line racing helmet. It's been on Marc Marquez's head for a few years now. Known around the world, and for a good reason. It's a good helmet. It's also the heaviest, tied for the heaviest helmet in this test at 3 pounds, 9.4 ounces. If you're a metric kind of person, that's 1,627 grams. The Shoei, like the Arai and the Bell, they all have DOT approval, but the Shoei, Arai, and the Bell are the only 3 here that have the Snell rating as well. All the others are ECE rated. So, things I like about the Shoei X-Fourteen. This is instantly comfortable. You heard me mention some of these other helmets I had to change cheek pads and change stuff around to make it fit my head. The X-Fourteen, I'm size medium, right out of the box, plop it on my head. Feels great, fits great, and the cheek pads, they do break in, but not enough to notice any sort of deformation or the need to change pads later on. That's something I've always loved about the X-Fourteen is it fits so well right out of the box. It is heavy, but you don't really notice that once it's on your head and flowing through the air. It's got really good aero. It slices through the air really well. That heavier weight kind of just disappears once it's on your head and you're flowing through. The ventilation, that's also something that the Shoei does really well. Open all the vents and start going, and you can feel that rush of air cooling down your head. It's a really amazing thing. Then of course, being a premium helmet, the eye port isn't the biggest one in this test, but it's not bad. No real complaints. The shield change mechanism, you don't need any tools. You just pop a button on both sides, pops right off. The new one clicks right in. It's a really easy thing to do. I mean, really, what can you say about a Shoei X-Fourteen that really hasn't been said before? Comfortable helmet, good ventilation. The cheek pads don't really deform all that much after you wear it for a whole lot. The pricing starts at $770 for solid colors, goes up to darn near $900 for graphics like this one here. Yeah, Shoei, good, solid helmet. Whether or not you subscribe to the Snell safety rating, I'll leave that up to you. But Shoei, Arai, and Bell are the three that do. And if this is up your alley, you definitely can't go wrong with it. As we scroll our way down the alphabet, we get to X, as in X-Lite. Or in this case, the X-Lite X803 to be exact. Carbon fiber shell, really cool. There's 3 shell sizes actually. This one is actually a size medium. They sent us 2 sizes, a small and a medium. The small weighs in at 3 pounds, 3.5 ounces. Medium comes in at 3 pounds, 6.2 ounces. That translates over to 1,460 grams for the small, 1,536 grams for the medium. Some interesting things about the X-Lite X803. This is the only helmet in the entire test that only has a DOT rating. No Snell, no ECE, no FIM, no nothing like that. In the US anyway, it only has the DOT rating. Something to keep in mind. Me personally, I'm not concerned that this is not going to protect my head just fine. Pricing starts at $590, can go up to $760 for graphics like this one you see here. Something I like about the X-Lite, it fits really well. The interior, this green interior here, fits nice and plush against my head. Really comfortable, really soft material. It's a really nice place to be. Aero-wise, it's fine. It's nothing spectacular, nothing to write home about. You don't see a big giant spoiler like you see on, say, the Shark or any of these other helmets, to be quite honest with you. The ventilation channels, they don't seem very big, and I personally didn't feel a whole ton of air coming through. Could have been just a weird thing with the day we were shooting in and riding in. I don't know what the deal was. You do have a pin lock visor that comes with this guy, so you do have protection from foggy visors. The thing that maybe I didn't like about this, the biggest turnoff I had with it, it's really loud. But in a weird way, it seems as if the wind was coming through the visor, and the wind was coming through the visor and then just going straight to my ears. I didn't change the shield mechanism at all. This is the way it came. I was pressing down on this tab to make sure it was closed. Everything was closed. I don't know if that's just a weird thing with this helmet or what. I'm not too familiar with how to make the shield grasp the liner of the helmet any better than it already is. Shield change mechanism is just this button on both sides. Plop that, get it in the right position, plop that, and the helmet shield pops off, and it's the reverse to pop it back on. You even have a lock on one side to make sure it stays closed. With all those things in place, it still just felt like the air was coming up through the visor and then into my ears and made things really, really loud, even with earplugs. That aside, and that's a pretty big aside because having the wind noise being annoying like that could be a problem for some people, but noise aside, this is otherwise a really impressive helmet that, you know, not too many folks may know about X-Lite, but it's a definite player in the game, especially if you're familiar with helmets in Europe. They've been in the game for a while. They're part of the Nolan Group, which Nolan's a huge helmet company across the world. So there you go, X-Lite X803. Really cool helmet, but the wind noise could be a turnoff for some people. Here we go, the last helmet on our list, if we're going alphabetically, is the 6D. The 6D ATS-1R. If you don't know 6D, this company is pretty revolutionary in the helmet space because they approach the topic of helmets in a completely different way from anybody else on the market. And the key to that is what they call the ODS, or the omnidirectional suspension. What that means? Well, let's get into it. You look at this ATS-1R and you think, oh, just a regular old helmet, right? Wrong. Inside all of 6D's helmets, between the EPS layers, they have what's effectively little tiny shock absorbers all over the inner liner of the helmet. It's completely different methodology than anything else you see on this table. Basically what that means and what that does is all those little shock absorbers between the impact layers in the helmet, when you smack your head on the ground, those are what absorb a lot of the impact energy from your fall, whereas with these other helmets you have the EPS layers that crush and shrink to take the impact energy from your fall. The ODS system, those little shock absorbers compress and move with the movement of your head because you're never falling straight down, you're always moving when you're riding a bike, so you're coming at the crash zone at an angle, right? And so the shock absorbers will deform and also move with the movement of your head as you fall down too. So it not only absorbs the impact energy, but it also absorbs a little bit of the rotational energy as you're falling down. 6D has a ton of scientific research to show how effective this is in the crash. I'm not going to get into that here. That's a bit beyond the scope of this video. However, the difference in thinking with the 6D ATS-1R and all of the 6D helmets makes that company really special and really eye-catching to me specifically, but maybe you too as well. Back to the ATS-1R and this helmet specifically, this is a size small, weighs in at 3 pounds, 8.7 ounces, which is on the higher side for the helmets you see on this table. But don't forget too, what's inside of this helmet is completely different from everything you see on the table too. In grams, that comes out to 1,607 grams. So again, a little bit on the higher side, but it's completely different philosophy that 6D is going with. It's DOT approved and has ECE 2205 approval as well. So I mean, it meets the regulations that, well, in this case, Europe requires to make sure your head is protected as best as possible. Pricing for this is $695. 6D is, as of now, end of 2021, we hear is going to have more graphics available soon. But as of right now, we don't know what those are and what those prices will be. As far as fit goes, the ATS-1R is snug, bordering on tight. I really had to play around with different sizes to find the one that fits me the best. So if you are looking at the 6D helmets, I encourage you to find a local retailer, find a few sizes that would be close to your general size and pick the right one for you. Once I did find one that fit my head just fine, everything else about the 6D kind of conforms to every other helmet I've ever worn. I mean, it blends right in, which is kind of what you want, right? When the technology is trying to change the game, you want the stuff that's been good about the previous regime to stay the same, and that's what the ATS-1R does well. When I'm wearing the ATS-1R, it just feels like a helmet. It slices through the air just fine. The interior is nice and plush, but sturdy, doesn't break in too bad. And that requires a new set of cheek pads, for example. Everything about this works just the way it's intended. The eye port, nice and big, so when you're in that tucked position, you can see out the front just fine. It has a locking tab on the side here to keep the face shield from popping up unexpectedly. Ventilation is decent, not great. Other helmets vent air better through the helmet, but definitely isn't bad by any means. yeah, all in all, the 6D ATS1R just kind of blends in with the crowd, which in this particular case, like I said, when you're changing the game, isn't a bad thing. You want the recognizable aspects of all these other helmets to feel the same, right? And the 6D does that. So when it comes to different revolutionary helmets, I'm a big fan of the ATS1R. I like wearing this thing. It fits my head well once I found the right size combination to put on my head. And then I don't plan on testing the ODS system on it, but knowing what it can do is comforting to me to know that you know, it could be a difference between going unconscious or not. So I like that technology. I like what this brings to the table. I hope 6D keeps revolutionizing and bringing more stuff to the market. So there it is, 6D ATS1R, a potentially game-changing helmet that I think you're gonna find, if it fits your head, is really impressive. So that's it, some quick impressions about 11 different helmets, flagship helmets for the US market. It's been quite a interesting experience putting this together, because wearing them back to back to back to back to back to back to back, that's when the differences start to make themselves known. Just like testing motorcycles back to back to back is when you really start to see differences in how each thing works or doesn't work, for that matter. You probably noticed that was a quick blurb about every single helmet. If you want to get more detailed information about all of these, be sure to go to Motorcycle.com. I've got a written story about all these helmets there, where I'll go into more detail about shell sizes and different EPS liners and yada, 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 all the detailed stuff you want to know about these things. So yeah, go there, go to Mo if you want more details about all these helmets. But for now, that was a quick overview of what these bring to the table and how they work in the real world. Again, I didn't get too much into different safety ratings. You can make up your own minds as far as that goes. But what you see on this table is a pretty good example of what you can buy today, and really, there's not so much of a bad choice. Once again, go to Mo, read the full story there, and as always, ride safe, and we'll see you later.